I am recording. We are recording. Is everybody okay with this recording? From the top.
Hello everybody, my name's Alex Shepley.
Hi, I'm Anne Hill.
Hi, I'm Lorna McDines.
Hi, I'm Becky Jones.
I'm Kevin Tanton.
Hello, I'm Barbara.
Hi, my name's Ali.
I am Petra.
Hi, I'm Kieran Crew.
Hi, I'm Sue Patrick.
And we are Massive Heedz.
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 And we are Massive Heedz.
Which is a project that was started last summer for the Llangollen Fringe Festival 2020, which was meant to be a street party. However, due to the pandemic, we shifted the project to an online set of workshops. And this video is really just to tell you a little bit about the project, where it came from, why it's called what it is, etc. The title, Massive Heedz, is borrowed from TFI Friday, which was a TV programme featuring Chris Evans, who had a dance troupe, I think, called Massive Heedz, who danced around with massive heeds. And also a video that I saw by one of my favourite bands, Arcade Fire, for their song Reflector, which features David Bowie, incidentally, where they've made papier-mâché heads of their own heads and wear them and dance around and do interesting stuff. But they are sort of caricatures, oversized, overscaled, but quite realistic and fun, but kind of eerie, sort of carnivalesque, Mardi Gras, slightly eerie, but you know, a kind of macabre humour about them. And we wanted to do something that involved people, involved some simple making processes, and also created a kind of a spectacle. So I guess that's probably why we chose the scale, to make them bigger, and also to create some dynamics and movement, because once we'd made these things, we were going to have a street party and enjoy ourselves, because the Fringe Festival is largely music, but it has other elements to it, such as visual arts, comedy, etc., etc. So we wanted to create a visual spectacle. So that's where that came from. And the idea was that people would be invited to imagine one of their favourite characters from Llangollen as a living legend. The legend of St. Colin is behind the project, and we wanted to invite people to bring forward their ideas of living legends, people who they regarded as key characters on the scene, if you like, in Llangollen, with their mum, their dad, their uncle, their aunt. It could be somebody who actually, you know, no longer with us, but to whom somebody special, if you like. And to make a drawing, as we wanted to keep it nice and simple, and then to use that drawing of their face to create, through a series of workshops, a simple papier-mâché constructed head, big obviously, in fact massive, that they could wear, and then it would be painted up using paints. So it's fairly simple making techniques that you would find in any sort of art workshop, and it doesn't matter what level of skill you were at, it doesn't really matter at all. And those workshops, because of the pandemic, were moved online. So we had a series of workshops online, and actually it gained in popularity, I think, because of the ease with which people could engage using Instagram and Facebook. I think Instagram was the main channel, and so it resulted in some remarkable drawings and some heads being made, and not just photographs of those heads, but then people started to make videos of them, sort of animated. And there were some videos from young people who actually reintroduced the project and did some how-to videos. So it had a kind of snowball effect, which was really, really good. So the idea was to create a living legend, make a massive heed and have a dance around, People were doing that in their gardens because of the pandemic, but the idea is in 2021, which is a special birthday for the Fringe, to hopefully, if the pandemic is over or settled down, we can do this again as a street party, as a carnival, as a Mardi Gras, if you like, and have some fun. So that's what it's all about, and I hope that we will see you there, and I'd like to see more and more people get involved. As I say, it's very simple, but it's a nice idea, and it's fun too.
I've actually been involved in the Fringe Festival for the last 3 years, so it was fairly natural that I'd stay and want to join this one as well.
I suppose the reasons I got involved was because it was a nice change to do something that was a bit more focused online. It allowed it to work quite well around my family time, especially with it being during the summer holidays.
For me, part of the reason I've got involved was I've got a friend who lives in Llangollen, and for the last 2 or 3 years she's raved about all the activities and music sessions and things like that, and I just thought I might have gone to something anyway, but also it just seemed like a natural thing to get involved because I already knew something about it.
I think I got involved because of lockdown, because of where I live. Ordinarily I wouldn't get involved in the Llangollen Festival because I couldn't commit to that drive there and back every day. So for me it was ideal being able to do it sort of at a distance, creating a massive head Heed and giving me something to do here, because there was nowhere else to put in all my energies, and it just sort of led nicely on from having been so focused on finishing off the degree and so single-minded doing art, and then all of a sudden it was like, and now we're finished. And it was a good gentle way of continuing to do art and now getting back into some sort of normality.
I'm pretty much the same as Barbara, but it's a bit too far away for me to have been involved if it was running in its normal way. So the working online was a way for me to be involved and stay in touch with some of the other students.
What pulled me into it was getting to do a collaborative effort, and the fact that we're involving the kids from Dinas Bran, it's making art accessible and keeping it fun.
Well, I hadn't heard of the Llangollen Festival before, but when I was asked to take part, I jumped at the chance just to continue working, giving myself interests, and getting used to this way of getting in touch with people.
Do you think about how so many things have kind of moved into digital realms? In a way, I suppose we've been forced into this maybe quicker than we would have done, and also being creatives, perhaps not everybody necessarily does utilise digital, but it's now opened up some other doors for us, really, hasn't it? And so, for instance, next year, hopefully we'll be able to have face-to-face contact in the school, and possibly if we can also get some other community groups involved as well, that'd be great. But we now know that meetings and things in the preparation stage can actually be done like this, so we can, it can be far more accessible to those who live further away, as well as closer. So there's alternative ways of doing, but also of connecting with the wider public as well. And obviously if we keep working on building and developing contacts, then that's great. So it means, as I think one or two of you said before, making what we do even more accessible. And it's great to be able to actually share what we do.
Yeah.
In good times and bad times. I was just thinking, everyone, the fact that we had experienced anti-show as a community, did that actually sort of make this more accessible for you as well, having already had an experience? Because I don't know, did we talk about this a couple of weeks ago, where how you know, for some of us, the transition to going online has been colossal, hasn't it? But in actual fact, we had such a good experience with the anti-show that it perhaps seemed more natural to sort of continue.
The anti-show did open it up, and it gave me an outlet for the sort of work that I've been doing. I think doing the anti-show first, it's sort of, you know, gave me confidence or inspiration to try and get involved with this one. So
I actually think because we had to do our degree show that way, because we had to finish the year that way, I think we actually learnt from that first and have brought that into this, but with a slightly wider group.
That's been a common theme, hasn't it? I think we've mentioned previously in meetings that the one thing we've all had in common is we've had time. And how do you fill that time positively? And I think it's given us the opportunity to plan how we would necessarily approach next year's festival. It's given us time to work on the things that we have been working on, and that necessarily isn't so in most years because we're living in unprecedented times, but we're trying to make a positive out of that.
But I think it's also because we've had to put on our creative thinking caps. We've had to think differently. And as creatives, I mean, that should be, we're just proving how flexible, how adaptable we are. In a way, art has played such a big part of lockdown. If you think of Grace and Perry's programme, which is now going to be renewed because people loved it so much. And all the other things that have gone on that have kept people thinking creatively and imaginatively, and this has been part of this. This has worked for this as well. But it's actually the Teams meetings, for example, have kept the momentum going, kept the connections going, and that's important.
Yeah, it's kind of necessitated that sort of innovation. To sort of find different ways to approach it, and it's almost given a sort of creative freedom. It takes you back to that sort of childlike stage where you've not experienced it before, so you're not sort of constrained to how you would approach it, and it's quite liberating.
I mean, for this, I think the fact that we've been meeting regularly has kept the momentum going, and it's enabled us to share our ideas and our inspiration, perhaps doing things we wouldn't have imagined doing previously.
I think the fact that it's a quirky and fun way to approach it kind of leaves people a bit more open-minded as to how to approach the Massive Heedz as well. You know, I approach it massively tongue-in-cheek and kept it quite fun specifically for that reason, because it kind of lends itself to it really well. We've not been in this situation before. You know, we don't know if it's going to happen again, but it'd be a missed opportunity not to get involved and try and make the best of it, you know, because it'll probably be remembered for all our lifetimes and beyond.
You know, what I've found over the years of being involved, it is, you know, the students from Glyndwr as much as it is the students from Llangollen and other people within the community that make it. You know, we can be as creative as we like in isolation, but sharing that and sharing those conversations and those things that happen with other people that's the magic, you know, that is the energy. And no matter what is going on or what time of year, if you've got that opportunity to be involved in something and to share ideas, I think it's so important. And I love nothing more than that kind of adding of ideas, building of ideas, of seeing what somebody else can do and being able to respond. I think it's absolutely wonderful because, you know, the notion of being in some way unique or making work that's individual, we know is a very, very difficult thing. But one of the things that I think can really help is when you do collaborate. As much as it's important to have time on your own, when you collaborate and you start building and gluing ideas together and responding in a real life situation, that's when the true creativity can really start to pop, isn't it? And you get on a roll, and you stop worrying about some of the other things that maybe, you know, you do the rest of the time about, are you going to get the grades? Is this good enough? Is it what I was supposed to do? And all those kind of worries that we have. And all of a sudden, you know, you're just making, you're thinking, you're making, you're sharing, you're analysing critically whether something's worked or not, and or whether, you know, how that fits within this context or that context. And it's fantastic. It is yeah, a live group experience. And for me, as one of the organisers, you know, I absolutely love when people want to come and be involved, no matter at what level and how much, because I see each of you as individuals, and I just think it's like a gift. Whatever you give, whatever you bring to it is a gift, and that is great.
Well, I chose to do the horse. I don't know why, it just stood out, really, don't know why. But I made it a unicorn because I thought, because we were working eventually with the children, I thought it was a bit more magical. And I could have taken the horn off, but I thought, well, the children would have loved it. So my horse has now become a unicorn.
I guess I sort of approached it from almost a social experiment opportunity to engage people. I initially chose Howard Marks, being the most tenuous link I could possibly think of. It's a link to Llangollen, and to provoke people to ask, well, why, and then generally get that hook in to set the interest in the theme of Massive Heedz, and to get people involved along the way and see how it relates to them, and, you know, to hear the stories coming from the people of Llangollen, especially when linking in with people from Ysgol Dinas Bran and the people who live and breathe Llangollen. I think it'd be personally great to engage them and see their response to our work, but also how they then further that and show us what the true legends of Llangollen mean to those that live and breathe Llangollen. I think the key is embellishment. That's kind of, to me, in my mind, what makes a legend is the story over years. You know, one person tells the story, the next person embellishes it, becomes bigger, becomes grander. Yes. And that's kind of my idea with where I wanted to go with the ridiculousness of what I created with the Howard Marks thing, was to make an absurd looking thing.
For me, it was more historic. It was a way to bring the history and to make it more accessible to the younger generations and to the public at large. So I looked at it as a sort of historical research piece, which is why a lot of my pieces are a bit more, what I would hope to be, a bit more historically accurate than fanciful, unlike my children's drawings, which are very fantastical. I did a little bit of research, and for example, brass was listed in many pieces as being a Greek warrior, hence the armor and such on my design. And I just like looking at the slightly more historical side of things rather than the mythological, shall we say.
We got him as in some of the legends as a Saracen.
It was mentioned as a Saracen, but as you'd already taken that approach, Anne, I thought I'd represent the other side of things.
Yes, yeah. And I did it just because it was a character. It was a very full character to do, so it was fun to do as a head. I mean, as most of it was virtual, or is virtual at the moment, some of us made the heads so that we'd have examples to show when we can meet people face to face. So some of us had to go to see how it was possible to do.
I sort of approached mine from a different way, because I'd never heard the tale, and I wasn't, Llangollen's all new for me. So I went with one of the fairy folk because they were dressed in red and blue, and I'd got a red dress, and I fancied having a go at making the head. So I sort of came into it more from I quite fancy having a go at this sort of thing, and actually the legend and everything else, passed me by. I just got a hold of the bit that interested me and went with that.
I chose a monk because I heard this story, the legend, and then there'd been a program on the television about monks, and I thought, I can use something, and that's what got me in. But then, as I say, I like doing the animation of other people's artwork. But I'm a bit like Barbara again, in the sense that I haven't focused on the whole thing or any other legends associated with Llangollen. So
no, but I think in a way with yours, Kev, as well, the fact that you've animated and we've been online at this point in time, it is so kind of suited this particular project at this time. And as well, you appropriated the sort of song, didn't you, from the programme that you'd seen along with the animation, which worked fantastically.
From my point of view, although I went into the historical side of things, it's a legend is very much subjective. It's all about interpretation. So I feel it was less appropriation and more personal interpretation, and how we took the story of that and displayed it in our own unique styles, which is why I went for the very, very pencily sort of drawings, and Anne went for the beautifully rendered, she went for the Heedz. It is all based on personal interpretation, which makes an event like this so wonderful, because you get to see all the different types of ways of interpreting the same story. Based on each person's individualistic talents.
Some of the children from Llangollen have actually done this. They've drawn their heroes, explained who they are, and we've started putting some of those together, their body image and the heads, and then the story. So we have actually got some of the children involved, and then we've also started seeing if we can get family members involved.
I think, to my mind as well, it adds a sort of personal level of authenticity to it, because they are the community.
Yes.
We can enable them with the skills and tools that we have to sort of tell their story of the legends and how they interpret it and how it intermeshes with their everyday understanding of Llangollen, and then show the visitors during the festival what their true interpretation is. I mean, it might be an idea to carry this digital format forward to engage people. I mean, if we can use it as a building block for the future, almost to have a snowball effect where it grows into a bigger thing that can be signposted at the festival, and so people can have a continued interaction with. It might be that something good comes out of the lockdown, in that we've had to think digitally, and it can be something that goes alongside and enhances in the future, and those ideas can flow digitally and be brought to the festival. And what's to say we couldn't even broadcast live from the festival for those that can't actually be there as well. You look at the largest fringe that I can think of is Edinburgh Fringe, and everybody's familiar with that. Llangollen not so much so, but now it's out there on a digital platform for eyes anywhere around the world to see. You would hope that it would gain a little bit more traction and interest from outsiders.
I think as well we've been able to play to our different strengths and put this together in ways that we might have otherwise missed. If we talk about bubbles, we all worked in our own individual bubble at the university, and here what we're doing is putting all that together. So the different strengths of the different people are all contributing to this focused project, but playing to all our different strengths. So it's really a true collaboration.
It's like everything, isn't it? It plays to some strengths better than it does to others. So maybe this will bring out things for you that you didn't think you could do.
Yeah, and I think as well, off the back of that, certainly it would encourage people. And what I like is it makes art approachable. I think off the back of what Grace and Perry did, it takes away this big scary facade of what some people see the art world to be, like, you know, some sort of secret society, and it just breaks it down into, actually, this is very approachable and anybody can do it and enjoy it and be part of it, and hopefully we're encompassing that as well.
I think that moving online has been extremely beneficial. It's allowed us to reach those who we would not normally reach in regular mediums. It's also allowed us to maybe expand our practices, to branch out into the digital and allow us to experiment and use new technologies, new programs, etc., to produce artwork that otherwise maybe we might not have been considered.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, in that as it's made us consider and think more about how we're creating our art and who the potential new audience is, and it's quite exciting and almost liberating in a way to sort of let go of any inhibitions and just try something new that's not been tried before. Yeah, it's certainly been an exciting prospect and an exciting movement to be part of.
I've also found the variation of time management is a lot easier when you're doing it online. It allows me to post from anywhere between first thing in the morning or even late at night.
Yeah, I think as well, with there being a global audience, there's always somebody there readily available to view that work wherever the time zone might be. So it's quite good to engage different people at different times, and it sort of fits different lives, which is quite interesting, in that it's not so formal and rigid that you have to be there at a certain time and miss it. It can be accessed at any time, which is, I think, really a great flexibility.
Yeah, I think we are very lucky to be able to meet online. I mean, also very basic, really, and to exchange our pictures or our work we have done on Instagram. I mean, that was a new step for me, I have to say.
On a purely practical level, I've learned an awful lot about how to navigate around Instagram, and I would never have even created a video before, let alone post one, and, you know, learn how to put multiple photos on. So that's been a big plus for me.
Up online certainly benefited me from a mental health standpoint, in that, you know, where I'm feeling socially isolated, we can still meet up with a group and be enthused to go away and be reinvigorated going away, you know, because I found that, especially early on in lockdown where there were tighter restrictions, it was very much quite an insular place to be, and it's been really nice to have this sort of group format online where we all still meet each other and support each other and feed off each other's positivity, which has been a great mental health aid for myself, certainly.
I also like the fact that we can get almost instant reactions to the work that we've created, whereas while in the studio you'd create the work, but you might not even get any feedback about a particular piece, whereas people would like and comment on every piece that you produced, which was encouraging. It was quite encouraging to be able to get a person's instant reaction to your work.
Yeah, and also I think, Becky, you know, the kind of reaction on Instagram and we've been likes or very just short statements, there's something really, really, really good about that, isn't there? That it's almost like
boosts your confidence.
Yeah, and a little trickle that, oh yeah, yay, yeah, and being able to, like you say, so instantaneously share something. And I think that, you know, earlier on in the project, when, you know, you were all working away, it was almost quite exciting when you'd get a chance to go on your phone and you'd be looking and you'd be, you know, seeing what each other's done during the week, or, you know, and I think that's the surprises of what's come out of it that you've shared have been absolutely quite wonderful, because, you know, have you made the kind of work you would have done necessarily before, or have you had to actually think about it in a slightly different way? Ordinarily, in the physical, we have prepared a project to take into the school, into Llangollen Fringe, and we've had a day in the school with the students making work, and then we took that then into the town of Llangollen for the people to see, along with work that the participating students made of their own in response to the project last year, and the work of the children at Llangollen Fringe. So we kind of have a sort of collation of work from, you know, school children, university, stroke artists, and then in some way try to share that with the public, which we did with Anne's storytelling last year and visiting the exhibition of the work of the university students and the school students, which was great. So, and we also did some mini interviews last year about people's thoughts or associations to the myths and legends and Llangollen itself. So we're kind of always kind of looking for this connection and to make connections between these different environments. So what we essentially had to do was that Alex Shepley, who's also involved, had various conversations, one of which was with Tracy Simpson, who's done a lot of gallery curation, exhibition work, and between them they suggested about, well, yeah, you can take it online, and because we'd been using Teams, we knew that we could use this platform, which was fantastic, and we'd had some experience with the anti-show with using Teams during lockdown. Actually, we were very well prepared to just make that transition onto a new project. And at that particular time as well, when things are coming to a close for all the students within Glyndwr and Llangollen Fringe are usually closing off. Ali MacDonald, who's the head of art there, is absolutely fantastic and still managed to share the project with some of the students and then send the images over digitally. So it's kind of, it's come together actually extremely well, considering all this change we've had to deal with. But actually, I think, like the students have been saying, we've had this other focus, which has been so good. And because it's a collaborative project, that it kind of, it means even more and it works even better. And also I think, you know, even within our weekly meetings, which we've been able to continue because we've been online, whereas you know, normally when we're not online, we don't actually meet as regularly or as long. So in a sense, being online this time in this situation has allowed us to extend the project, but actually keep communicating through this time about this period in time, about the project, about possible developments for next year, which again has been really beneficial. For me personally, as one of the key organisers of the Llangollen Fringe Festival Arts Project, it's been fantastic this year that we've had so many new faces to the project, and that, you know, for some of you it's only been possible because it's been online, and this makes me think, well, actually we want to keep this for future reference because it does create again that community.
To me, I think the transition to online makes the whole process more personal. It engages people in a way that they're seeing and being part of the process. It's almost like a backstage pass, as you were, to the artist process, and they can give feedback like that, like we say, those instant likes, comments, which can inform the way that the art goes forward. I think it's a lovely concept, because ordinarily at the Fringe they're seeing the final piece, but they're not seeing the process. But to actually be part of that, they can actually feel, well, yeah, I've watched this from beginning to end, and then hopefully next year they'll want to engage and see where it's gone and how it's finalized. You know, I think it's a lovely opportunity to actually engage people more.
And I think we will be well prepared for next year. I mean, we had so much time to think about it and to talk about it. And can you imagine finishing our year and then going straight into this fringe? Yeah, I think that's a good thing. You know, we will be very well prepared next year to go into the school. I don't know. And
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Collaborating with the children.
Yeah.
Going to school and working with them and getting their ideas, because they'll give a fresh, they'll refresh it again, because it won't be, you know, we can probably hopefully see them and meet them and take it from there.
Now the project, as a result of the situation that we're in, has actually proved positive in that now it will be over a 2-year period as opposed to a 1-year period, which we've never done before. And I think, as you said, Petra, that we've had so much time to kind of prepare ourselves and discuss and ruminate, which is wonderful. And then Lorna, like you just said, actually, when we get a chance to have that engagement with the pupils at Ysgol Dinas Bran, and if we can branch out as well to other places before then, they will reinvigorate, won't they, and enliven what we're doing, because they'll have a different take on what we're doing. So although I suspect quite a few have actually followed Massive Heedz on Instagram, when they actually see those massive Heedz that have been made in real life, again, that will be a wonderful experience, won't it? Because I think, you know, it's a bit like when you've got a favourite artist and you might look in a book or see something on TV. It's a very different experience. It's wonderful still, but it's a very different experience than if you go to a gallery and see that particular piece of work in real life, because then, you know, obviously it's a whole different experience. I suppose we could have explored other avenues, but I think that it was something that we were all just fresh off using because of the anti-show, and we'd seen actually how well it worked, and it was something that we could all access, and I think it's still a platform that's current enough and used by enough people that it's a viable vehicle. And as I said, we'd all just previously used it.
Yeah, it just seemed an obvious thing to do because we'd already got used to using it, and it worked. We got quite a lot of feedback from the putting our degree shows stuff up. So yeah, I'd say it was just a natural transition to use it for Massive Heedz.
I just think it's a very usable platform as well. In the tools available just seem to lend towards projects like this more so than maybe a Twitter, which sort of limits what you can do, or a Facebook, which can get kind of lost in and amongst all the different things. I think Instagram touches the audience that you want to sort of reach out to, and the hashtags link things in. And I just think it's a perfect and very usable, quite learnable tool as well.
I think though the other thing is with Instagram is that a lot of other organisations seemed, I mean, I don't know, it could be wrong, but a lot of other organisations seem to also start using it in various ways. And I think that by going straight from the anti-show to Massive Heedz, we'd started to build up some of our own contacts as well, hadn't we, you know, on a personal issue and also through the anti-show. So I suppose in a sense there was an audience already there waiting, but it's very easy to make connections with other, using the hashtag, isn't it, with other possible areas. So that ability to link with different audiences is really, really great, and as everybody's been saying, you know, fairly simple to use.
Yeah, I was hoping, or I thought, also pupils, students, and going to school, I was thinking they would use Instagram as well, and maybe it's a good access for them to see what is already been made, by us. I think it's also kind of showing the students in school life is going on. Life doesn't stop because of pandemic.
Yeah.
And we are still able to do things and to work together. And I think, as I'm hoping, students at school, they can realize and think, okay, I'm going ahead too, as this kind of role model. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And I'm saying that artists are not just people sitting at home and doing something in their studio on their own. They are working together and interact with each other. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of our responsibility to document this for future. That's how I sort of my take and how I feel on it, because as artists through history, where would we be without the documentation of different periods and time? And we're part of that tradition, and it's nice to sort of think that we can be pioneering and also be part of that history as well.
Next year, I mean, we can't really plan that much because we don't know what's going to happen. But even if it's not improved, then the heads that we're doing now, they'd be like masks, wouldn't they? We could all have these heads on, and they'd be like, our protection.
Oh, Luna, that's brilliant.
My daughter said exactly the same thing when I showed her that paper mache head that I made. She said, is that going to be your coronavirus mask?
Excellent.
Go around with everyone can have their own personal style, and so just all these ordinary masks.
Then what would become interesting is not only actually seeing each of you trying to do your daily activities with your massive heed on, and how difficult that might be, more so for some than others whose heats are heavier, or the balance is a little bit tricky, but then also to observe the audience as you go about your business outside of your home.
No chance.
Just going shopping with my unicorn head on. Pushing the trolley.
The joy and happiness that can bring to people again is another positive.
That's true. That is true.
I guess it's carrying on being innovative and keeping on engaging the public and paying homage to the origins. You've got to sort of celebrate what we've achieved during this time, and anything going forward, should reflect what we've achieved, and should be told as the story of itself, almost. That's where it's created, and this is how we're able to use this platform and engage with all these people.
Yeah, I think Kieran, you've got a point there, because we each year with the Llangollen Fringe Festival Arts Project, we relate back to the myths and legends and the town itself. And so in which case it wouldn't actually be out of place to make reference in years to come to this point in time that really kind of changed the project. Because if we are looking to actually reach that bigger audience that maybe previously we didn't, when it was just a physical presence that we had during, within the school before the festival, but then during the festival in the town of Llangollen. Now it's it has sort of changed and moved those kind of parameters for the scale of the audience, for the timing. So it could be that we actually sort of almost have updates, or, you know, we could really utilize the imagery that we've got and then the animation to come to actually get people excited and get people thinking about the project ahead of when it happens next year. So for the first time, I suppose, we know that we are going to actually be working on the project next year, all those that can from this year. We are hoping that it will also have a physical presence as well as an online. And even for those members of the team next year that can't actually, you know, if we have one day in a school doing a workshop, hopefully everybody will be able to come. But those that can't can still have a dialogue with us on the day via online platforms such as this, as well as then Instagram and whatever else we decide to use at the time. So it's kind of just given us so many more opportunities. But I think that it would be good to now have as part of our tale what happened in the year of 2020. It's going to become an iconic moment in different ways for different people, isn't it? And then I suppose a bit like, you know, when we have the anniversaries, you don't want to forget, do you? Because amidst all our kind of joys and positive things that have happened and have come from this situation, you know, behind that, obviously there's a much more serious underlying thing going on that as time passes we won't want to forget for many reasons, will we? And hopefully, you know, we'll learn a lot of things from this period in time, not only within, you know, our creative environments, also other things that we can take forward and use in a positive way. But I think that comment that was made earlier about Petra, it was from you, wasn't it, about the children seeing us carrying on, that is so important, because actually there have been days when it is quite difficult, isn't it? It feels like Groundhog Day or whatever. And there have been days which have been difficult, which, you know, even for myself, coming and knowing that I'm going to see you guys once a week, we're going to talk about, you know, all this lovely creativity and possibilities and what we can do and how we can do it and problem solve together, have something to really get your teeth into, has been wonderful.
I think that, you know, out of situations that are extremely bleak, you know, there is always a way for positivity to come through and overcome the sort of darkness of these times, you know, because it's affecting people all in different ways, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed and bogged down in the seriousness and everything of it. But I think it's a duty of people like ourselves to sort of bring that light relief, and certainly working with all you guys has been that relief for myself, and hopefully what we've created is that relief for others as well.
But I actually think as well that when people see that there is a group, a community working on a project, I think that's also really good for people to see, you know, and especially during these times, seeing how communities are still carrying on. So whether you're a child or an adult, knowing that things, you know, people find a way, and that is so important, isn't it? So should we stop recording now?